Okay, now I'd like to show you how to correctly hold a knife. I have the chef's knife in my hand here, and there are a couple of ways of holding it. What's more comfortable for me, for example, is to hold the knife with the one finger over the bolster and the thumb on the other side. That's fairly comfortable for me. And I'm holding the knife with 3 fingers. So that's really important. And this feels most comfortable for me. Now you can also hold the knife just on the handle itself without putting any part of your hand on the bolster. Or you could take your thumb and put it on top of the bolster. Sometimes it depends on what you're cutting, which way you are holding the knife. It becomes after a while naturally to you. So I want to cut an onion, and we peeled an onion before, so we cut it in half right in the middle, and making sure that the root end is away from you. Now there's an interesting situation right here, because my foot on the side where I have the knife is a little bit forward, and the onion is a little bit on an angle. So now I'm cutting because I'm not standing straight up in front of the cutting board. This is more comfortable, and you almost naturally do that, and you cut down holding the onion in place with your curled fingers like that. You also use your nails a little bit to hold the onion, and you go all the way to the end to cut it, and then you hold it together. Now you cut, and you shift a little bit because you're doing a different cut, and you cut the horizontal cuts. Now you use a rocking motion forward, a rocking motion, actually following the way the knife is made, and you cut down, again making sure that you hold the onion in place with your curled fingers. And when you come to about 1/2 inch, you can cut a couple more pieces like that, and this piece is used for other things. You can clean your cutting board, the cutting edge of your knife, and you have perfectly cut onions. Also, it is very important that the knife is sharp, because as you're cutting through it, the juices of the onions will actually not squeeze out and make you cry. Then, of course, you clean up your knife and put it on the side with the edge facing away from you. Let's talk about the size, why we have to have these particular sizes in the julienne cuts and in the diced cuts, all those cuts that we're doing. Why they have to be the same is that when you look at them at this point, they're all pretty much the same. You can make a little bundle out of it. After they're cooked, you take some of the carrots, you tie them with a leek, and then have a bundle of vegetables on a plate. And if they look all the same, then they look beautiful on the plate. On the zucchini, it's a little bit different, because they're not exactly all the same, because they all have the green skin on it. So they're the same length, all of them, but they are perhaps a little bit thicker than the others, but the same length. So when you look at them on the plate, let's imagine you have this row on a plate, they look beautiful. Julienne, on the other hand, they're very fine. These are extremely fine. They curl up a little bit. So they're used as a garnish in a consommé, for example. So imagine you have carrot julienne just like that, and turnips, you put them in a soup, and they come up beautiful. Also, the reason that we cut them like that is that they cook very evenly. Same with the potatoes. When you have large diced potatoes like these, the application for these are like in a stew. So if you have these potatoes, you cook them put them in the stew perhaps at the end of the cooking process, then they come out beautiful, and they're not all chopped up or pieces of potatoes in the stew. And very similar with the other sizes. Here we have the medium dice, and they go into a finer type of ragu. And they're the fine dice, and the smaller ones, these here, the very fine brunoise, go in the consommé. Look beautiful in the consommé. You put that with a little bit of parsley on top. You have the different colors. You have white, red, or orange, and green for your consommé. And same here with the rondelles. If they look on the plate just like that, if they're cooked and they're tossed with some dill, they look beautiful. You can make a nice border with the zucchini after they're cooked. You could even make some grill marks on them. And the oblique make a beautiful vegetable on a plate. These particular thin paysan are also for soups. You put them in soups, and it's the same principle that they cook pretty much the same. They don't fall apart. And then, as I mentioned, the tournée. You have these beautiful football-shaped 7 sizes with a little bit of a tip removed, and cook them, some dill, and put them on a plate that looks beautiful. Okay, I would like to do some peeling now, and some of the things that you have to watch out for, like always, is to make sure that your knives are sharp, and that if you need to hone them a little bit, you can do that, and that they're off to the side and clean. Your vegetables that you're peeling should be clean. They should be washed, especially potatoes. And what I've done here is to put some film, some saran wrap, on the cutting board, and that's the reason to collect the peelings, actually. So when I peel now, I just take the peeler. I'm not actually cutting into the film there. So it's a very good idea to do that, and to have a clean cutting board right after you peel things. When you peel potatoes like this here, you need to make sure that you have the ends peeled off as well, because we're going to take those potatoes and square them off. There's quite a bit of leftover, so to speak, and those pieces that we are squaring off are going into other uses like mashed potatoes. When you peel carrots, lay the carrot on the surface, and just peel down half of the carrot. And if you do a lot of carrots, there's a lot of carotene, the orange color that comes out of them, that would make that white cutting board orange. And it's really hard to get out. I can show you that by just taking a towel and wiping off the carrot. And you see the orange color coming off there. That would all be in the cutting board. So the carrot, the potato go in a bucket of water, and then, especially if you have a whole bunch of peelings, you just take that paper, wrap it up, and you have a beautiful clean cutting board. Throw that away. And I also have to peel a rutabaga, but that would have to be done with a knife. So there I need to make sure that the paper is gone. And you have to take your sharp knife to cut pieces off, because that would be very, very hard to do with a peeler. You can try that, but it's really difficult. You don't get enough off. You need to have the green right under the skin. That has to come off. So the best thing to peel a hard vegetable like this is to use your knife. And you can use a smaller knife if you want to, but that would be how to peel a rutabaga. And the peelings go into the trash. Then I'm going to do some cuts here with the carrot. First I'm going to take off a piece about 2.5 inches long that is going to be used for other things. The tip of the carrot or the root end is going to be for stalk or something. Then I need to cut it into about 2-inch pieces, and I'll make sure that the knives are not on the cutting board. You cut off one piece and then lay it down on that flat surface so you can square off the carrot. Now you can actually cut the slices, the thickness that you want. Because one side is already flat. And you keep going. The other parts of the carrot that are not used for this knife skill, they're used for something else. They don't get thrown away, they're used for something else. Then on the flat side that you have, you start cutting your julienne. And you measure, you place your knife on top first, and then cut through. And do that with the next slices. The other side of the slice is not straight, but it doesn't really matter. That will be the last one that's left over. And bring the next slice over. So you can cut them pretty fast. Line them all up. They're all going to be the same length because you cut them from one piece that was all the same size. So there you go. You have a nice bundle of julienne of carrots. Then these pieces are going over to the side. This piece here can be used for a tourné. So you cut that piece into about 2 inches and start with your tourné knife. And in one fluid motion, you cut from the top to the bottom. You use your thumb to guide the knife through. This has to be 7 sides, and I don't know why there have to be 7 sides, but that's what it is. And if you were in competition, the judges would look at it and go around and count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. There's a tourné. The next piece that you have from this carrot, approximately the same length, that tourné can be a little bit bigger. So they don't have to be necessarily all the same size. Because if you place them on a plate in a succession, then they look very nice as they are. So it isn't essential to have them all the same size unless you are in a competition. And see, this one is slightly bigger, but you have a few laying like that, that would be fine. The other pieces are used for carrot puree or something like that, so don't throw them away. On a potato, to make the square cuts, you square off the potato. Notice how I take the knife to go through the potato. Rather than cutting straight down, I drag the knife through here so that it won't get stuck. There's a lot of starch on the potato, and it would get stuck. And it's pretty square right here. So if I was going to make a large dice, I cut that in half, then cut about one smaller slice off for other use, and then I square off the rest of the potato like that and cut these into dice. And they'll stick together a little bit, so you have to put them in water wash the